Network Entertainment.
Hello everyone! Welcome to another episode of Kaya Pa Ba with Baus Rufo. And this time, medyo maninibago kayo kasi hindi ako masyado magtatagalog for the whole episode. So I am very excited for the episode today because I have always wanted to do an episode that focused on healing. And this particular healing modality that we are going to talk about has actually changed my life. And my guest for today is somebody who I think founded that particular or started that particular practice here in the Philippines. And she is also the founder of Third Eye Wellness. It's a well-being center that focuses on many different healing modalities. But we're here to focus on theta healing. So please welcome to the podcast, Sanaiyah Gurnamal.
Oh, thank you, Baus. Oh my God, you have set the tone for this amazing conversation because I have known you and seen you through the process of your own growth.
Thank you.
So I'm excited for us to talk about theta healing today.
All right. So theta healing, I guess, just from like a user testimonial standpoint, it has changed my life. I discovered it in 2021. This was, I think, 4 or 5 years after resigning from corporate when I was still really trying to figure out where do I go from here. And that was 4 years ago. And I must say, I am living my best life.
Love that.
I think I am happier than I've ever been just in terms of being able to express every tool in my toolbox, and I'm just able to just give it all to the world versus when I was in corporate. But with that, of course, there are other things that come with that. But I guess for the people who don't know what theta healing is, do explain to them this thing that, changed my life.
Yeah, absolutely. So to put it very simply, it's a healing system. It's a technique that is founded by someone who used to have cancer. Mm-hmm. And she used this meditational technique to heal herself of the cancer. Since then, it's been over 20 years or more at this point. People all over the world have been teaching this technique, have been using it with people. I work with clients and I teach students. So it's a way of helping people discover why they're sick, why they're stuck in situations they don't want to be in, why they are carrying certain limiting beliefs, and how to basically get rid of everything that's getting in your way of having the life you want. So just like you said, I'm living my best life. I'm happier than I've ever been, right? And you've done theta. So you've done that work through this process to release everything that was blocking you from getting there.
Yeah, and I actually have gone as far as training to be a teacher. I think there are maybe 5 levels. I think I don't remember how many levels it is you have, but I took the first 2 levels just so I am also able to do theta on myself.
Yes.
And it has come in very, very handy during times of like I am feeling like extremely anxious, or I feel like there are certain limiting beliefs taking over my system on that particular day.
Yeah.
Because while I have healed from trauma or negative programming from before, the work continues because, I take on more work. I meet new people. I take on new trauma or stresses, maybe. So my theta journey, I think, has never really stopped ever since I discovered it back in 2021. But let's get to the limiting beliefs of it all, because I feel like limiting beliefs, negative programming, these are things that you also, I think, hear from traditional talk therapy. And I have. And I actually still continue to do talk therapy on top of theta healing and transcendental meditation. It takes a lot to maintain this, guys. But I guess, why is this particular form of healing different than people who may think, isn't that just like Reiki? Isn't that just a little like talk therapy? How would you usually answer that question?
Yeah, great answer, because I think this is what sets theta healing apart from other things. So how I would explain theta healing is it's a blend of science and spirituality, right? So when I'm working with a client in theta healing, I'm doing a lot of coaching work, which means I'm helping them dig deep into the subconscious, trying to understand what they feel, why certain things are happening in their life, and get to the root cause of it. Now, most other modalities like talk therapy, when you see, a therapist, when you see a coach, you do this part, which is you dig into whatever the issue is, and you try to gain awareness and understanding. Now, theta healing takes it a step further because we get you to that point, but then the spiritual aspect of theta healing is essentially changing the neural pathways in your brain, closing the receptors to the negative programs and replacing the negative beliefs with the positive belief. So it's almost like an instant relief. You could come into a theta healing session feeling like your whole world is falling apart, like you're about to just lose it or have a nervous breakdown. And within like 30 to 40 minutes, you could actually feel like, oh, everything is going to be okay. I'm fine. I actually feel light and I feel good. And in every session that I do with my clients, we start off with them feeling anxious and stressed. They walk out feeling just more confident, more empowered. The stress is gone. The anxiety is gone. They feel really good, which obviously means they can make better choices. They can think more clearly. They feel better about themselves. And the best part of it is it's lasting permanent results. It's not like, okay, 60 minutes later you feel better and then tomorrow you're back to where you started. It's not like that at all. It really is a complete shift to a different level of feeling or being.
Yeah. You mentioned lasting results, and I think you have mentioned this in a number of interviews too, that it kind of is like a magic wand to your life. And I mentioned this earlier, but it has had that effect on me. I think I just allowed myself to dream bigger dreams in terms of just abundance. I definitely earned more than my corporate job. I was able to get to it sooner upon discovering theta healing.
Yeah.
I have also, I think, have been more forgiving of people whom I think owed me something, which I think limited me in a lot of ways. But I guess for your other clients, what are some of the success stories, or how have you seen your clients take things to the next planes of their existence?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is across the board. I've seen diseases completely heal. I've seen someone come in with autoimmune diseases. I work with them and the doctor's like, oh, I don't know how this happened, but you don't have this autoimmune condition. I've seen people with skin conditions and it disappears. Like lots of physical sicknesses reverse. I've had people who are single looking for their partners, and time again, through theta healing, I help them manifest their soulmates. I help them improve relationships. So I have couples, I work with one person. I don't work with both people in the relationship, but one person is like, should I stay? Should I go? I'm in a toxic relationship. How do I turn this around? I help them turn around their relationship completely. So they're actually in a happy, healthy relationship, even though they started with a toxic one. I've had people manifest opportunities, careers like you. I've had people with deep depression. They've been on medication for 30 years. And through theta healing, we've actually got them off the medication. That wasn't the goal, because I don't want to take people off any kind of medical advice. But the goal is to get them a point where they don't need it anymore. So anxiety, depression, any kind of mental health diseases, disorders, dysfunctions, I work with those very, very successfully. So honestly, I feel like I'm just saying pretty much everything. And I have to say this, Baus, in the past, I was always very reluctant to say how amazing theta healing is. Because when other people talk about things and they're like, this is the best thing, this is the solution, this is amazing, you're like, yeah, right. It's not, you're just trying to promote something you believe in, right? So it was always very hard for me to talk about theta healing, because I really do think it is so incredible and everybody should do it. But I feel like almost shy to tell that to someone, because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to push something on them. But the other day I was talking to somebody that I work with, and she's like, Sanaiyah, why don't you talk about this enough? Why don't you tell enough people about this? This is really just the most incredible thing in the world. Why don't people know about it? And I'm like, you're right. I should be more open about it and more insistent that people should try it, because you really should. It is like this best kept secret. It is like a superpower or something that really everybody has access to, but not enough people are using it.
You mentioned earlier you don't want people to have a complete disregard of medical advice.
Yes.
And definitely this is a new age type of healing. But how do you marry, or I guess what is how do you deal with people who try to kind of, I don't want to say negate, but maybe become less open to it because there is not enough scientific evidence that can correlate theta healing with, particular
Yeah.
changes or medical transformations.
Absolutely. So the funny thing is, there's actually a lot of scientific evidence, right? So with theta healing, there have been EKG scans, electroencephalographs that test your brain waves and show you you're actually going into an altered state. Your brain waves are slowing down in a healing session. And so that's something pretty incredible because usually we'd be asleep to reach that kind of deep state that we do in a healing session. But of course, people don't really understand that. So what I tell people is you just need to feel it to experience it. You need to feel the shift. You need to feel how you started, and then I work with you, and then how you end up. That's the biggest testimony of what it does. Having said that, I'm sure you've also seen this, across social media, in the news, and so on, that the gap between science and spirituality is starting to close, right? More and more, you'll see things like heart attacks are stress related. And stress is emotional. So you have to deal with the emotions. You can't take a pill for stress. Actually, you can't do that. You can take a pill to manage your blood pressure or manage maybe anxiety, but ultimately you cannot take a pill to remove the source of stress. You can just learn how to cope with it. So more and more I'm seeing that, medicine and science is acknowledging that, being positive actually affects your recovery. Right? Your mental state of mind, your acceptance of the condition you are living with. All of these things actually make a difference on how quickly you heal and how well you heal from something. So I think more and more we are seeing an acceptance of these new age alternative and this more holistic approach, right? So you can definitely, and you should, go to a doctor and take a doctor's advice, but then also do what you can do to deal with the cause of the problem. And together, I see incredible healing for people, both emotional, mental, physical, and also spiritual.
That's a great way to put it. I think to just look at it from a holistic standpoint. And I think the great thing about looking at it from a holistic standpoint is that it gives the person really more agency to heal, and because you're not just a victim of circumstance, of a bad lifestyle or bad diet, that you can actually take charge and heal yourself like one step at a time. I just want to talk about my experience with theta healing. So you mentioned earlier, it's about feeling good. My first session, I literally felt a ball of tension coming out from my gut. And then when I let it out, I was sobbing like crazy, letting go of a lot of trauma, a lot of negative programming. And then after the session, I felt so light, and it was quite euphoric in a way after, after releasing that thing inside of me for a very long time. And I felt that. Is this usually the case for people? How, what do other people experience, I guess, during a session?
It's very similar, actually, Baus. Most people are carrying baggage, right? Baggage could be trauma. It could be rejection. It could be bad experiences. It could be feeling unloved from childhood. It could be, feeling not good enough, which is a really big one. So we carry those feelings as some kind of a load. Some people will feel it on their shoulders. Some people feel it in their stomach area. Some people feel it on their chest. So it's really kind of something you can feel, and it's uncomfortable and it's heavy and it makes you feel dark sometimes, overwhelmed, overloaded. But at the end of the session, my clients always say, Sanaiyah, I feel lighter. I feel more hopeful. A lot of people will say things to me like, I feel like something has just left my body. Or in the middle of the healing, they will say, Sanaiyah, I feel like things are just coming out. I don't know how, but I just feel like I'm letting it go and I'm releasing it. And when they walk out, they actually really feel like they're walking on air, like that light. I've had people say those specific words. So I'm giving you, what people tell me. More than anything, I notice that in people's mind, there's a sense of clarity about a situation. So for example, a client comes into me. They're like, my partner did this to me and is doing that. And I feel so disappointed and hurt and blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of sadness and grief about something that's going on in a relationship. By the end of the session, my client will say something to me because we've worked on it that, I understand, Sanaiyah, in this situation, I was learning to speak up and to use my voice and to, put down some boundaries. So they understand why the challenge happened. There's a perspective shift, some kind of an awareness and understanding. So you stop blaming the other person and focusing on what they did wrong, and you start taking responsibility. We can even call that personal accountability for why this is happening to me. And then it's like, oh, if it's about me and what I need to learn, then why don't I just learn it and move on?
Yeah.
Right? And then suddenly it's not a challenge anymore.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh, there's a way out. There's clarity. I know what to do. I know how to, handle this better next time.
Yeah, the whole making peace of the situation of your trauma, I think, was such a profound thing I experienced when I did theta healing for the first time. Because, growing up queer, I eventually became estranged from my dad because he wasn't accepting initially. And then, so that feeling of not being good enough, I was able to use that to my advantage for up until a certain time.
Yes.
I was able to dig deep into myself and find strengths and talents and be able to form a kind of identity that I think, I have taken to the bank. But I think when I discovered theta healing, that particular me not feeling good enough and using that chip on my shoulder to just as a part of my identity had kind of ran its course already.
Yeah, you were exhausted
I
and
was
you were burned
exhausted
out.
already because, yes, it was working, but at that time I felt like I needed a new regimen. And I think this was a time when I just resigned from my job, and I think it equipped me with just the right value system and just the right motivation to move forward. But I think that's a great part of theta healing is that the blaming part of it stops. Not only stops, but I think that you are able to find meaning and peace. That's just a particular gift that I think theta healing has.
Let's unpack that a little bit so people understand it, right? So what happened with you is you had some negative experiences, let's say with your father growing up, and it made you feel like, I'm going to prove myself, right? And that I'm going to prove myself became how you got motivated to succeed in life. But it was the hard way, because whenever you need to prove something or you need to earn love or you need to kind of show people, like by taking revenge, I'm going to become famous because you didn't, pay attention to me. Like there are all these different kinds of negative motivations that we get from events in our life. And you work really hard to prove. These are all really heavy things to do, to prove, to earn, to take revenge, whatever it might be. And at one point, like what happened to you, it's like, I'm tired of doing it this way. It's the hard way. And what theta healing essentially shows you is there's actually an easier way. The easier way is by letting go, by forgiving, by accepting, by learning what you're supposed to learn, and by honoring that this very difficult time in my life taught me all these skills, right? That has allowed me to do all of these amazing things in my life. And you know what? I'm done making it about my past. I'm here to recognize that I have developed these amazing skills, abilities, talents, and I'm going to use all of this to do what I love for me. Not because I need to prove it to someone, not because I need to earn, love or acceptance or validation, and not because I need to show somebody else that they were wrong about me, right? So now it becomes easy because you're doing it from this place of love versus where you started, which is this feeling of like, not enough, right? So what we're doing is we're transforming the motivation from something that is negative, something that like drains your energy, to something that's really positive, that opens your heart and makes you feel like there's so much possibility for me.
Yeah.
So it's changing the energy, the vibe, right? The frequency.
Yeah. I mean, it was incredibly liberating. And you are right. It became from me not feeling enough to me being anything is possible, I think that was basically the energetic shift that I experienced in 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And, and from that, you can create momentum and you can, carve the life
Yeah.
that you want.
Yeah.
But I want to get more into just the negative programming, the limiting beliefs of it all. So that was a personal limiting belief that I had. But, I want to get into what are the limiting beliefs that are kind of culturally specific to like Filipinos.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, every country, every community or set of cultures basically have their own limiting beliefs. But what have you noticed?
Absolutely. So beliefs are essentially what we believe to be true because other people told us that, because that is how our family was raised, because that's what society says. So this becomes your rules of the world, right? Or how you understand the world. And here in the Philippines, what I've noticed with my clients is things like I have to sacrifice is a big limiting belief, or I have to suffer to learn because that comes from the religion, right? Because Jesus suffered for our sins. So there's a sense of like suffering or sacrifice that comes in. Another one is because as a community, there is a sense of helping our family all the time, right? So the belief is I must give everything I earn to my family, So there's that sense of like responsibility or, energy drain. And one thing actually that I see a lot is the eldest child syndrome. Like if you're the eldest daughter or you're the eldest son, you feel like you have to take care of the whole family or your siblings. So there's a big responsibility we carry here. Another one is that when it comes to relationships and love, I have to just accept what I can get. So these are very common beliefs I've seen here in the Philippines. Some are religiously influenced. Some have to do with the fact that one family member tends to contribute financially for the whole family, right? That is the whole OFW culture. Or also this idea of like, a lot of times I have to accept cheating and betrayal because that's all I can get, right? And responsibility.
Oh, wow.
Those are like big ones that I've seen.
Yeah. I wanna dig deep into the eldest child story because they have to provide. Usually they end up believing what after providing for their family for so many years.
So first of all, they feel like it's an obligation, right? And it becomes like, I can't dream for myself. I can't have my own dreams, my own career, my own like choices because the family must come first, right? So they always sacrifice whatever they want. And eventually, it becomes like a burden. You're not doing it anymore because you love your family. It's a sense of like, I'm doing so much, but nobody is thankful. Nobody acknowledges me. Nobody, says thank you. It's expected. And eventually those same people who are carrying the load for everybody else become resentful. They become depressed, shows up a lot. They become exhausted, burned out, and it's like, you're not living for yourself anymore. You're living for other people. And then there's no joy anymore, right? And I actually had a client, she lives in the US. Her father is here in the Philippines and her mother is in the US, right? So even though she lives with her mom, there's a sense of responsibility towards her father in the Philippines. And she's a nurse. But what happened is before she got a job, her father got really sick. And so there was no money to pay for his medical bills. So she begged everyone she knew to help. And nobody was there to help. So she made a vow, I will get a job and I will always have access to money in case my father or other family members need it. So what she did is she just continued to work hard so she'd have savings. But what happened is she has a dream of going forward in her medical career. She has a dream of opening her own clinic, so many things. But she's like, I can't do that because the money I've saved is for what if he gets sick again? What if somebody needs it? So she cannot invest in her own further education, right? When the actual solution is the more you succeed in your life, the more you can help other people and you help them from your overflow, right? So if she went on to start a clinic, if she went on to invest in herself more, she would make more money and have so much more to help the people she loves. But she's afraid of the trauma of not being able to help them when they need it. So she's holding herself back. And there was also this kind of sense of heaviness and, feeling exhausted. There were a lot of other things around it and feeling also like not good enough, not worthy. So I had to work with her on a lot of these things. But essentially, we hold ourselves back as the eldest child because we feel other people's needs are more important than our own.
I love that. And once theta kind of has worked its, in air quotes, magic for that particular limiting belief, what is the new programming usually that gets downloaded to, these people who are breadwinners, these people who have just decided that maybe it's over for them already, that there is no way for them to be happy anymore?
So there are a couple of things that goes into it. Number one, theta healing is ultimately a technique, I would say, that is based in the idea of a God. You may call the God divine, source, Jesus, whatever you believe, creator. I like the word creator.
I also use the word creator.
So it really is the understanding that there is a greater, higher power, right? And that power is taking care of all of us, right? So number one, I work with that client of mine and I make her understand that the creator is taking care of your father. Okay. And it's not just a thought that the creator is taking care of your father. It's like the resources will come. Don't worry about it. You focus on yourself. You let God take care of your father. Number one, that's the first thing. The second thing is really the belief that there are possibilities that I can be here for myself. I can focus on myself and still be there for the people I love. I can do both. And I can do it in a way that brings me peace rather than me feeling exhausted and resentful and, like I'm sacrificing myself. So that's another thing that comes in is this. They become very resourceful. I can do this. I can do that. Oh, this is how it's all going to work. And the third thing is sometimes, we take on responsibility that's not really ours.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, if you are constantly taking care of your family members, they may not be motivated to learn to take care of themselves. They may not get a job. They're like, I'm getting, provided for anyway. But you're enabling them to stay stuck in their own life. And so by you moving forward, you can actually inspire other people that they too, can study, can do something with their life. And that is another thing, is learning that there are some times in your life where you really have to help people, but there are other times where you have to empower them to help themselves. And you can support them in different ways that doesn't require you to just give everything you earn to the people that you love, but maybe, put them through a course that can help them. Like, there are just more ways to do it. And the other thing is, a lot of my clients learn after working with me how to manifest, how to be very clear about what they want and let the universe help them to get to those goals. Whether it's providing them financial resources, whether it's giving them opportunities that were actually in front of them, but they never saw it because they were stuck in, I have to sacrifice or I have to focus on other people. So sometimes it's all there in front of us, but we don't allow ourselves to have it.
Hey, his name is Chico Garcia.
And his name is Gino Killiamore.
And together, we are Only Fun.
That's right, for only $12 a month.
But if you're willing to pay, why not? No, we're from a podcast that talks about movies, TV shows. Basically, we do reviews of K-dramas, whatever is on streaming, whatever is on cinemas. We also get to occasionally interview celebrities, actors, directors,
and of course infused with our own witty brand of humor and slice of life.
Wow. I guess we don't infuse a lot.
Check it out.
I'm getting thoughts already of what the next blocks are for me to be cleared with you. So I'm like, okay, I'm listening right now. Yeah. And I think that's a very big thing. Just giving yourself permission, period. Permission to live a creative life, permission to have the best relationships, permission to be healthy, permission to just dream new dreams, dream bigger dreams.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen this a lot of times. But usually, what is the root cause of this particular block that just prevents you from just harnessing every power that you have as as an individual.
And I think that one would be that I'm not enough. That's the number one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I also keep going back to that, by the way. Yeah.
Right? And it shows up in so many ways. Some people have it as imposter syndrome. Some people have it as like, I have screwed up so much in the past, so I don't deserve another chance. Some people have it as, I didn't do as well as my sibling. I didn't get the grades. My parents weren't happy with me, or I made bad choices. So over and over again, and comparing to other people, right? All of these things make us feel like I'm not enough. And when you feel like I'm not enough, you don't take risks. You don't take chances. You don't believe in yourself. You hold back. You stay small. You hide. You avoid. So basically, you stop putting yourself out there, right? When the only way to move forward is to kind of keep walking forward, right? No matter how scary it is, no matter what comes your way. These are all opportunities for us to learn and grow. But if we already start with, I'm not enough, there's no confidence, no courage to go through whatever lies ahead in our life.
And good thing you mentioned that, because we were talking about this earlier before we started filming. I already know the negative programming of I am not enough. Like, I have a particular relationship with it to make sure that it doesn't fully take over on certain days or certain decisions, because I discovered Theta. I knew that to be a thing that might have misguided different points in my life. But I still find myself kind of like falling back into maybe the same negative programming or limiting beliefs. Like, and I'm sure because there are people who are more evolved, who have an awareness of their trauma and maybe how they make wrong decisions. How do you just make sure you are always centered? Because I think that's the part that I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah.
I always compare myself to, my peers, if they're getting more views, if they're getting bigger laughs. When before I was such in a state wherein I felt like I could do anything. So I just want to make sure that I am always in that state, because it is easier said than done.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you 2 strategies, maybe a third. Okay. I think you're going to like this. So the first one actually comes from a book I read. It's called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. And this is a perspective shift. Okay. So the idea is, when we aren't happy with how we're doing, it's because we have an ideal in our mind of what we should have done or where we should be. Right? So every time I look at where I want to go, I remind myself I'm not there yet. So I'm in the gap between where I want to be and where I am right now. There's a gap. So I'm always going to feel like I'm behind. I'm always going to feel like I'm not where I want to be. I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to feel bad about myself. I might feel guilty, all those negative emotions. The other way to do it, though, is don't look at where you still need to go. Look at where you started. So look backward. And when you look at where you started and where you are today, you'll always be in the gain, because you're always going to be ahead of where you started. And that will bring with it appreciation, acknowledgement, the feeling of, okay, I'm not there, but look at how far I've come, right? And just that little shift of acknowledging how far you have come, how much you have done, how much you have grown, will actually shift your mindset from that kind of negative into a more loving, grateful, like energy, and that'll help you make better choices. The second thing you can do, which is kind of related, is we tend to be in that inner critic, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, why didn't I do this? What about this person? I'm not there, blah, blah, blah. So going from the inner critic, which is a very negative, critical, not a very nice voice, right? I always encourage my clients to move into the voice of the inner coach. The inner coach is supportive, is loving, is like, you got this, is the cheerleader. It's the part of you that can actually say, you know what, you didn't do it right, but we can do it better next time, right? So you want the voice of the kinder, more loving coach. So you switch from inner critic to inner coach, right? And that automatically pulls you out of the negative, I'm not good enough, to the, okay, I can grow, I can learn. I'm not perfect, but I'm on my way. And the third one, this is kind of really the theta route, right? So as a theta healer yourself, you could do this. Most other people might need a little bit more support and help to do this, but it's really to say, whose voice is that? It's that I'm not enough. Whose voice is that? Is that me, or is that somebody else in my past that I'm speaking on behalf of? Is it my mother? Is it my father? Is it my teacher? Is it my ex? Whose voice am I kind of repeating in my own mind? Okay? Because we are born perfect. We are born whole and complete. It's just along the way, we have all these experiences and we have people telling us that, we're stupid or we didn't do it right, or we get the message over and over again that we're not good enough because we didn't meet somebody else's ideal or somebody else's expectation. Or sometimes, someone is just having a bad day and they need a punching bag.
Yeah.
So they actually just like criticize you or project their anger onto you, and then you feel bad about it, right? Sometimes it's just unfortunate. It's an accident. It shouldn't have happened, right? But you carry that on and you make it your reality. But it wasn't you to begin with. It was somebody else who told you in some way that you're not enough. Okay? So digging deep into where did that come from? Okay? And doing the healing at that point, right? We do the theta healing there and we remove that memory or that influence in our life. Okay? And then we move forward.
Okay. I need to do another session with you real soon. That's reminder number 98 that I should do it real soon. You mentioned earlier manifestation.
Yes.
Manifesting. It's such a buzzy word right now.
Yeah.
Like, you see TikTok trends saying, "Oh, let me manifest this." There are songs like Ariana Grande has a song about manifesting. So it really is much in it's in the zeitgeist right now. But of course, also a big conversation about manifestation is that it kind of overestimates the impact of the external world. That there are things beyond your control. So how do you marry these truths that yes, you can go for any life that you want, but at the same time, the unexpected can also happen. So how do these things coexist?
Yeah, that's a great question because manifestation says rule number 1, you must know what you want, right? Rule number 2, you must think you can get it, like it's possible. So you're worthy and deserving of it, right? And then rule number 3 is detachment. Let it go. Okay? So what's happening in your external world, who's stopping you, all of that stuff is just noise. So I understand there's an external world, but at the same time, if I want an opportunity, I think I'm worthy of getting that opportunity and it's possible. I'm not saying like tomorrow I'm going to become a billionaire, right? Because my brain is just going to be like, that's not physically possible. I mean, unless I win a lottery, but even then I can't imagine being a billion. Like it has to be something your brain says it's possible. I just don't know how to get to it, right? And then feeling like I deserve that. So focusing on those things are really likely to get you to your manifestation more quickly than worrying about all the things you cannot control because those things are going to happen anyway. So I know I'm not really answering your question head on because your question was, how do we accept that there's a world out there that doesn't work to our tune? And then we also know we can manifest what we want. How do we marry both of it? I almost say don't marry both of it. Forget about the other stuff. That's all noise. And focus on what you want to manifest. And honestly, manifestation is a way of life.
It is.
In the beginning, you might feel like, okay, I have to sit down, I have to know what I want, and I have to do a manifestation. Maybe I have to do a meditation, or I have to put candles, or I have to like get crystals, and you get all complicated about manifestation.
I've become a little too ritualistic about it. Actually.
Right? And a lot of people do that. It's like they try to like use those different tools. But ultimately, manifestation is the belief, I will get what I want. And why shouldn't I? I deserve it. I'm worthy of it. And then, when you have that attitude, it's almost like a confidence. It's a feeling of a confidence and you'll ask for what you want, right? So if there's an opportunity, and okay, I've actually shared this example before, but it's coming up. So maybe it's relevant for our conversation today. I decided I want to do more work in speaking because, when I sat down to think about what really brings me joy, what makes me happy, working with clients, absolutely. But speaking to people and seeing their eyes light up when they realize the possibility for themselves, like that really just like, I don't know, it just makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I know now this is what really, really like makes my heart sing. I want to speak more. Of course, I have the podcast, but I want to speak more on stage. But, I kind of get nervous sometimes when I'm on stage, But despite that, I know it feels good and I want to do it. And I've also been kind of putting myself out there more. Now, on Instagram, I saw that this event was happening in the Philippines. All right. And it was like a summit event where people are attending and so on. And they were already advertising this event. And I'm like, you know what? I want to speak at this event. Now, they haven't asked me. Right? It's like, imagine you're in the playground and there's a group of like cool girls playing and you're like, oh, I want to play with them, but like they haven't asked me to play with them, right? It's kind of intimidating to go into that group, right? So for me, it was like, okay, I want to speak. Now, I have to believe that I'm good enough to speak on that stage to write them a message and say, can I speak? And if I don't think I'm good enough, I won't even write them. Right? So it's a confidence. So I actually Instagrammed them and I was like, I really want to speak at your event. It's so aligned with my values. This is my experience. This is what I've done before. Are you open to it? Okay. No reply. All right. Now, if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of confidence or self-worth, you're going to be like, oh, they don't want me. They read it. They don't want me. Now, I got to just forget about it. And you feel bad. You feel rejected, right? But I'm like, my brain is like, oh, it's not that they didn't like me. It's that they didn't read it. So let me try again. And let me try another way of communicating. So I tried 2 or 3 different ways and I reached someone and I was like, I really want to speak. Do you have space? And they were like, they looked at my, what I submitted and they're like, oh my God, yeah, we'd love to have you. Here's your slot, blah, blah, blah. We're good to go. And so I got that speaking opportunity just by asking for it. And, I just talked about this in one of my episodes that we ask for what we think we deserve. But if we don't think we deserve it, we won't ask. So often manifestation is really asking for what you want. And most of us don't get to a point where we even ask because we don't believe we deserve having it. So I asked, I got it. As simple as that.
Yeah. And I love that you framed manifestation as like a way of life, as a belief. Because I've been manifesting regularly for like the last 4 years, almost like every month, every time there's like a new moon. That's a particular set
Ritual.
of conditions that I need to be able to do it. And then there are times wherein my list is very long, and then there are times when it's like, wait, this is really short. And sometimes I pressure myself to like, you need to dream bigger dreams, you need to ask for bigger things. But I also feel like a big part of living and carving the life that you want is also just really gathering data first.
Yeah.
Like, it would be great if you get to have a new set of dreams in 30 days, but I don't think that is always going to be the case.
Yeah.
So I guess, what do you have to say to people who are kind of at the precipice of making that big leap, but they might be getting a little frustrated with being ready already?
And you mean for manifestation?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think in the beginning with manifestation, you make lists and you make long lists.
Yes.
The more you put on your manifestation list, the more your brain's like, okay, we're busy. We got to get moving. But if you only put one thing on your manifestation list, your brain's like, oh, she just wants one thing. We have the rest of our life to get it. So do not manifest for less. Manifest for a lot of things in the beginning, right? And just keep, getting clearer and clearer about what you really want and go out and manifest. A full moon's a great time to do it. But also really any time before you go to sleep is a great time. When you wake up in the morning is a great time. And manifestation is really like, I believe I have this in my life right now. And let's say you want to manifest money. You have to feel what it would feel like to have a lot of money. So you need to have the emotion first before you get the actual thing.
That's the part where, knowing what you want. It's not just knowing here, but also just
knowing in your
here.
heart.
Yes. Yeah.
And so one of the things I teach in the Theta Healing Manifestation course is like, if you want to earn a lot of money, you should be a big tipper. You should tip big. Why? Generally, you tip based on how much you feel you have, right? So if you have like a lot of cash, you're happy to tip more. But if you're like, I'm just like, my bank account is tight, it's like every end of the month there's like low balance, then you're not going to part with your money so easily, right? So one of the things I teach is give a good tip, because not only are you showing gratitude to whoever else served you. You get their positive vibes because they're grateful. So their gratitude gets attached to you too. And you feel like I have plenty. I can give this much of a tip. It's like so you're already kind of creating the feeling of having plenty before you even have it. And that's the
great
key
hack,
to
yeah,
manifestation, is to feel it before you actually get it. But I'm not saying go spend, crazy amount. Like don't spend all your money, trying to pretend like you're like some wealthy person. Do it with balance, right? With being practical.
No, I love the way you framed it because I think it doesn't reduce manifestation to this end all be all where you just write it, you pray for it, and then it's there. A big part of it is actually earning the right to be able to say it that you are ready and then it comes to find you.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I love about what you said is that it acknowledges the hard work. It acknowledges the actual intention.
Yeah.
To be it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I have another great example that I have to share with you. So, when you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu and you place your order with the waiter, right? Now, once you put the order in, generally, if you're eating with a friend, you start chatting, catching up, you get involved in your conversation. You're not like every 2 minutes, where's my food? Right? Or waiter, where's my food? You're not anxious and worried, like, where is your food? Once you place the order, the waiter has put it into the kitchen. They're preparing your food. When it's ready, they will serve it to you, right? And instead, you focus on enjoying your time with whoever you're sharing your meal with, right? So it's the same thing with manifestation. You put your order into the universe, and then you gotta be self-assured. You gotta be confident that when that meal is ready, it's going to come to my table. So that's the detachment, right? That's the letting go that I've already done it. I've done the work. I've put it out there and it'll come when it's the right time. But if you're anxious, where is it? Why hasn't it come? What if it doesn't come? And all these feelings and thoughts come up, then that means you have a block because manifestation is a high vibration and fear is a low vibration. So you won't even reach the manifestation kind of, energy to put something out there.
I mean, I just love the way that it's earned because it's not a cliche. That's what I love about what you said. Of course, in manifesting the life that you want, I mean, we must talk about manifesting the right partner, Mr. Right, Mrs. Right, MX Right, if you don't have any preference. But you have a particular service called the Soulmate Magnet.
Yes.
And you have had a lot of success stories in terms of just being able to find a soulmate of a client. But do tell us more about this because I'm sure a lot of people here are just, maybe that's number one on their list every time they manifest a list for their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. So I have a program called Soulmate Magnet. And I created this because over my entire career, which is over 15 years, if there is one thing that I tend to see over and over again, is people who are not in happy relationships or they're single and they want to be in a relationship, right? And this is a big deal for all of us, right? Because ultimately, you want to live your life sharing it with someone who you love and who loves you back. I mean, that is really the ultimate goal for everybody. There's career success and all of that, but really you want, as human beings, we crave connection, we crave love. That's what we want. So one of the things that I help people do is release everything that's getting in their way of attracting the love they want. And most of the time, we tend to attract love based on patterns that we either saw in our own parents' marriage or we are repeating patterns from our ex-relationships that were already bad to begin with. And so we keep attracting the same type of relationship or same type of partner or same type of feeling in our relationships. So what I help people do is through theta healing and, I have different things blended into my Soulmate Magnet program where I help people get to that goal of finding their soulmate. And you're right, I've had a lot of success, some high profile ones like Ellen and Derek, Ellen Adarna, that happened on my podcast, but also, just people from everywhere in the world. I do work with them to help them with this simply because, that's my journey as well, Baus. Like I was a woman who was single and I had all these really painful relationships And I even at one point gave it up and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in a relationship. I'm going to dedicate my life to my career and my purpose. I do not want to be in love. And as much as I tried to run away from it, ultimately that is what I wanted deep down in my heart. And what really turned it around for me was learning to love myself. Because most of us, whether we are single, whether we are in a relationship, whether we're married with kids, most of us struggle with loving ourselves. And if we can't love ourselves, it's very hard to let other people love us. So I always say this, how you love yourself is how you teach other people how to love you. Okay. And so in this program that I do, I really work with my clients to release everything getting in the way, teach you to love yourself and really love yourself, not the, bubble bath and massages and like make Sephora makeup kind, but like the real self-love. And then finally get very clear on what your ideal relationship looks like and then manifesting that through this powerful soulmate manifestation that I do.
But I am curious, like culturally, why is it harder than ever to love oneself? Because if it is harder than ever to be able to find a partner, I'm sure the self-love is kind of like right beside it. So why is it so difficult to just care for oneself?
We are in a culture of hustle where it's always about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And in constantly trying to strive for this perfection or this ideal or these goals on the outside, which of course are made worse by like social media and, what we see in, celebrity lives or other people's lives, we forget that real love starts from within. So we get disconnected from ourselves. Okay. So that's one thing is our society does not prioritize well-being, self-love, and our connection with ourselves. We are constantly distracted by everything around us. So that's a big problem. The second thing is our society, our culture prides sacrifice and prioritizing other people over yourself. And so we learn that to be a good daughter, son, wife, husband, mother, father, we have to put other people ahead of us. And that leads to more disconnection and more exhaustion and more burnout and more feeling bad about yourself and anxiety and all these things that we've been talking about in this whole episode. So it really is that we don't know how to love ourselves. Nobody ever taught us. Even as a child, we had to listen to what our parents told us to do. We had to we had to get good grades so they would be happy with us, so they would give us love. So everything was really outside of us. It was about earning or proving, and that's really what we keep doing over and over again. We try to earn love. We seek it from outside of ourselves. We try to validate from other people. But really the most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. And that's the love that you really need to connect with, that love from inside. And when you love yourself, right, Baus, you stop looking for it from other people. And when you stop expecting it from other people, you're not disappointed anymore. And you don't need other people. You're happy to have them, but you don't need them because you are enough. So it comes right back to...
It's like we just went full circle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really learning that I am enough. I can meet my needs. I can give myself the love I want from other people. And I am my own biggest, cheerleader, best friend. I am enough for me.
Wow. Well, I guess that's a great way to end this amazing episode. So thank you so much, Sanaiyah, for just joining me, holding space for just love. Just like holding space for love in every form it is possible for everyone. And so can you please invite everyone to follow you, to like where can they book your services? So yes.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you, Baus. So you can definitely tune in to the Project Loving Myself podcast, which is on all podcast channels. Also, you can follow me on all social media channels. I have a very active YouTube channel at Sanaiyah Gurnamal. My website is also sanaiyahgurnamal.com. And finally, I have a gift. I've asked your permission if I could share it with your
Yes.
listeners. So I have a Love Blocks quiz, and it's a great quiz to tell you where you're stuck when it comes to love and relationships. And to take the quiz, you just go to sanaiyahgurnamal.com/love-blocks-quiz. And I know you're going to drop it in the
Yes, definitely.
description for people to take that quiz as well.
And that's it. So thank you so much again, Sanaiyah, for joining us today. And that is it for our episode of Kaya Pa Ba. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Follow me on Instagram, that is Kaya Pa Ba Pod, and Baus Rufo on Instagram. And I am Hey It's Baus on TikTok. We will see you in the next episode. So bye, guys.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.